Aloha, everybody. If you're just joining us, we just had a tornado warning that was issued for the western parts of Molokai. I'm here joined by Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins. You can see both of us. We're trying to go live on multiple platforms right now. We've got Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins with us, and your mic is also up, so people can hear you if you speak into there. We had a tornado warning that was issued earlier this evening for parts of Maui County, and it has been canceled. That's the main message that we want you to get here. The tornado warning is no longer in place. It was canceled about 20 minutes after it went out. Jennifer Robbins, what can you tell us about the situation?
Well, we had a line of strong thunderstorms, and when this happens, it's all radar indicated. So on the mainland, when you hear about tornadoes, sometimes you see them from weather spotters, or you actually get those reports all the way from the mainland from weather spotters, and also radar indicated indication shows you that there's rotation in the radar. And that's exactly what we saw with this strong line of thunderstorms. Now that has been replaced with a special marine statement or a special weather statement. So even though the tornado warning has been canceled, that strong line of thunderstorms are still developing straight line winds that are very strong. So that has been a concern for us. This is actually over West Molokai. So it is in a remote area. Not as many people live there, but nevertheless, this is something that we don't see every day here in Hawaii with a tornado warning. And because that line of thunderstorms have weakened, the tornado warning itself has been canceled.
Yeah, it was canceled relatively quickly, right? When we see tornadoes in Hawaii, they're very weak, usually EF0, EF1 at the strongest, right? When was the last tornado warning? The most recent one that I've been able to find was 2020. Do you have an answer for that?
Well, 2020 was probably one that made land, but many times we have water spouts, and those are tornadoes that start over the ocean, and then once it reaches land, it becomes a tornado. So it doesn't happen very often when we actually have tornado warnings itself. We have special marine statements quite often here, several times a year, and that's due to water spouts that form. So water spouts usually form even on calm days, but this is a severe thunderstorm that developed. And usually with these kind of storms, you think of supercells, those powerful cumulonimbus clouds that go high in the atmosphere, and they have these strong updrafts and downdrafts. And we don't see those kind of storms very often here in Hawaii, but we do nevertheless, maybe once every so often. So this is really interesting to see all the elements come together. We've been calling today a first alert weather day. We've been calling that since last week, marking the day in red, knowing this cold front will be coming our way. But the cold front itself, Drew, it's really interesting. It's still just offshore of Kauai. These are all south winds that we're tracking ahead of the cold front. And usually when we have these stronger Kona winds, we could have instability in the atmosphere, the ingredients for thunderstorms, and that's what we have been seeing. So one strong line of thunderstorms, or a squall line, came through over West Molokai, and that's where we had that tornado warning for a brief moment in time. It wasn't long enough, but when you say radar indicated, that just shows you that the radar has a tool to show that there's rotation within the radar that potentially could be dropping a tornado, and that's what issues a tornado warning, is at the radar itself.
Mm-hmm. And I know one of the things the tornado warning discussed, where the radar indicated, was 3/4 inch sized hail as well. It was 0.75 inches. And one of the reasons we've been talking about this is these southerly winds. These southerly winds bringing a lot of moisture, a lot of instability into the atmosphere. And that's the reason, if we take a look at the first alert radar, again, you can see there's two different bands of storms right now. It's going to load right there. It takes a second. You can see two different bands. The one that started the tornado warning was over West Molokai, and you can see all of the lightning, all of the pink flashes right there. That's when the storm was the strongest, right there. Those pink colors, that's the lightning. There's a lot of instability in the atmosphere causing upward motion, and that's what you need for these supercells to develop. And of course, we had two different lines. So if you take a look, we've got one over Molokai. We had very heavy rainfall earlier today on Oahu. There's another round of rain coming. And again, if you're just joining us, the tornado warning was canceled earlier, about 20 minutes after it was issued, and it was only over parts of western Molokai. There were alerts that went out that said it was over Maui County. It's not over the island of Maui, it's over western Molokai. And as this squall line continues to move eastward, we're going to have to keep an eye on it because, again, we're talking about instability in the atmosphere, those southerly winds that we've been tracking, causing a lot of upward motion that have allowed these storms to grow to the intensity that they've gotten. And you can see, again, if you're just joining us, those lightning flashes, that's where we saw that strong storm, the rotating supercell, the rotating cloud that was allowed to get picked up on the radar. The rotation is what indicated this. We've got another round of storms moving in towards Oahu. You can see it's moving in towards the North Shore right now as well. It's heavy rainfall coming in. And again, Jen, these are really rare. Can you talk about some of the I know I already asked you this, but for people who are just joining us, when was the last time we had a tornado warning like this?
I believe in 2020, but we've had a number of water spouts. And usually when we do report tornadoes, it's because they start off as water spouts over the ocean. And we do get that quite a bit, several times a year. But when it comes to a tornado that's actually radar indicated over land, that's pretty limited. We haven't seen that in quite some time. So it is fairly rare here in Hawaii, not starting off as a water spout, but that may have started off as a water spout and then approached Keipuhi, which is on the west side there. And it's a remote area. If you've been on the island of Molokai, you actually have to drive on unpaved roadways to get there. And so this is on the very west side there. And we do see earlier there was that rotation that was indicated on the radar. And I do believe maybe this is a situation where it started off as a water spout and then made its way over land and then officially made landfall for a brief moment in time and then dissipated. Fortunately, not in a populated area, but if you were boating in that area, very dangerous. If you live right on the coast of that area, you may have seen straight line winds that were very strong. And with some of these straight line winds, they could be damaging. We're talking about a line of thunderstorms that could produce essentially 50 to 60 mile per hour winds from one line of thunderstorms. And on the scale of meteorologically speaking, this is the mesoscale. So it's a much smaller scale. So when you're looking at, like, let's say a hurricane, that's on a much bigger scale. You could track a hurricane day after day after day. But when it comes to the mesoscale, all the ingredients have to come together and instantly produce a tornado, and that's on a much smaller scale. So fortunately, not in a populated area. We haven't heard from anyone who has experienced the tornado effects, but it was all radar indicated, so we can't even confirm if that tornado was there for maybe just a brief moment of time that it was indicated by the radar itself. And the National Weather Service does have a helpful tool when they're issuing these warnings, and that's automatically driven by the radar readings. And because the radar was picking up that there's rotation in the radar, that could essentially mean a tornado could essentially have happened. That's what we saw today with that warning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and one of the things that I do want to talk about as we're going forward throughout the rest of the week, because even though we saw a lot of heavy rainfall today, we're still expecting more. We're expecting more rain throughout the rest of the week because all of this moisture that's moving up right now over the island chain is actually ahead of the cold front. It's not the actual cold front. And we're seeing that second band move through. I want to look at our first alert futurecast really quickly. You can see this. As we go forward throughout Tuesday morning, we're still going to have heavy rainfall statewide. Seems like the strongest of the storms is going to be up to our north. We're not going to be seeing as strong of thunderstorms here over Hawaii. We'll still have to watch because of the instability, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere that could cause strong thunderstorms. But as we go forward in time, that cold front's going to move off to the southeast. Still some lingering showers throughout Wednesday. This is Wednesday at 5 p.m. But another front is on the way. You can see that off to our northwest as we get into Thursday. And this is Thursday at 7 p.m. You're seeing another cold front. This cold front, we're not forecasting it to be nearly as strong as what we're seeing right now on Monday and going throughout Tuesday as well, but we're seeing another front, maybe some more heavy rainfall statewide. Again, the heaviest rainfall looks to be over parts of Kauai and Oahu, and that's going to move off to our southeast. Again, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about the tornado warning that was issued for Maui County. A lot of alerts went out saying we've got a tornado warning. That is so uncommon for Hawaii. That is, it is unthinkable. I know we get them often in terms of water spouts, and sometimes they'll move over land. But when you hear tornado Hawaii, those don't typically go together. So when you see on our first alert radar and satellite, you've got all of this instability. We didn't see very much rotation on the radar. It was very close to the Molokai radar. There was a very short frame of some rotation, and I'm sure that's the reason that they issued the tornado warning. But you can still see, this is over the last hour where that tornado warning happened, right where the pink lightning was. Very, very heavy rainfall, very, very, there was circulation allowing this to happen.
And the National Weather Service has specific parameters to issue those warnings, and there was just enough rotation indicated by the radar for that to be issued. And it was not very long, very short duration. Maybe it was up for at least 15, 20 minutes. The storm collapsed pretty quickly. And also our island terrain plays a big role in why we have some of the moisture that is anchored to the mountains for a long period of time. It was just even incredible to see how much rain has fallen over the Waianae Range today with those south winds and also those gusty downsloping winds that we saw with those south winds as well. So very interesting weather today. Makaha alone got about 10 to 12 inches of rain, and that's why they're seeing a big cleanup there. Right now, it's all individual cells that we're tracking that are lining up with these storm systems that are coming in out of the south. And it's always really tricky forecasts here in Hawaii when we get these Kona winds and we're tapped into deep tropical moisture. And as it interacts with our island terrain, that's when we have very interesting scenarios. Earlier today at its peak, it was producing 1 to 3 inches per hour of rain. And now we're seeing some individual cells move in. We call them squall lines that are moving in. And we've been seeing that over Molokai. Earlier today, they were under a flood advisory. And mainly it's been on the west side. If you're over places like Halava, you're not seeing as much rain there if you're jumping onto the other side, but mainly hanging on over the west side there, and it's fairly remote on the Friendly Isle. But we will be seeing pockets of heavy showers that will continue to move in into the night, and it's all due to a parent low, a low pressure system, a Pacific storm. Usually when we get these Kona winds and south winds, we have a Kona low, but this is actually a more traditional winter storm that we're seeing over the Pacific, and it has dropped in from the jet stream. It's still attached to the jet stream, and it's going to produce some showers due to a cold front that's moving in from west to east that we're going to be tracking for tomorrow. So this is kind of like a double-edged sword. Today we got the south winds and also the instability, some of the thunderstorms, the heavy downpours. Once that's anchored to the mountain, you get even more runoff and downpours, and that's what we saw piled up over places like Waianae and Makaha. And we continue to see some individual heavy cells that are riding in over those south winds as well. And also with these straight line winds and individual cells, we could see very strong winds with these thunderstorms. And with that individual thunderstorm, what was it? About 40 to 50 miles per hour?
There were 40 mile per hour winds with the tornado warning. And there was just another special weather statement issued by the National Weather Service. This isn't a warning. This isn't a watch or anything. It's just something to get information out to the public. This is over parts of Molokai and over the leeward parts of Oahu. There's 2 different advisories that just went out. No hail, no tornadoes. It was all based on wind again, and we're seeing that on our first alert radar and satellite as that first band's moving over parts of Maui County, and the second band is starting to move towards the leeward parts of Oahu. The winds are picking up again, and again, these winds are out of the south. Kona winds, a lot of moisture, a lot of instability. So right here, we just had another special weather statement go up for the western parts of Molokai, and the northwestern parts of Oahu are going to continue to see gusty winds. As we go forward over the next several hours, we are going to be seeing heavy rainfall again here on the gathering place, And again, if you are just joining us, curious about the tornado warning has been canceled. It was only up for about 20 minutes. These are very, very rare here in Hawaii. There was enough circulation on the radar to where we could detect it. However, it was very short-lived, and it has died down. We're going to continue to watch this system around the clock. I want to give you, before we sign off, we'll give you another look at the First Alert Futurecast really quickly so you can see as we're going forward. Of course, we're still seeing heavy rainfall throughout Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be a little bit lighter. As we're going into Thursday, we could see another cold front. So again, this is Tuesday, still heavy rainfall. Seems like the strongest of the thunderstorms are off to our northeast. You see those yellow colors, the orange colors, just to the northeast of the Hawaiian Islands. We are going to be seeing this front move off to the southeast, to the east. We dry up a little bit on Wednesday, but as we get into Thursday, you can see there's a secondary front, a much weaker front that's going to be approaching by the time we get to Thursday evening. So heavy rainfall still in the forecast. And the main thing, the reason we saw this tornado warning today was because of the instability. The ingredients were here. The rotation was present in the atmosphere, although very short-lived. It's not often in the tropics we get this type of weather. But we still need to keep an eye on it. Even if the tornadoes here are short-lived, they're weak, they're still not something to joke about. We still need to be aware of them. We still need to be watching the radar very, very closely. And of course, I've said it again. I've said it several times in this. When you think tornado in Hawaii, those things don't go together. So we're tracking these systems. We're going to keep watching the First Alert radar and satellite. Download the Hawaii News Now First Alert weather app because we are putting forecast videos around the clock like this. We've been checking the radar all afternoon, all evening. We're going to continue doing that throughout Thursday. And again, the thunderstorm threat is still present as we're going into Tuesday. Not so much Wednesday, slightly on Thursday. So we still need to keep an eye on the radar.
Yeah, and with those south winds, we do get very interesting weather. And these south winds are going to be with us at least through tomorrow, and the instability is going to be with us during that time period. So something we're definitely going to be watching very carefully with those south winds. They're going to be present at least through tomorrow ahead of the cold front itself. And taking a look at Molokai again, very interesting situation. It started off with a special weather statement with a line of thunderstorms there. And then as a line of strong thunderstorms developed on the west side, we did see some rotation that occurred on the radar itself, and that indicated that a tornado briefly dropped. And then we did see that line of thunderstorms produce strong straight line winds up to about 40 miles per hour. And these are powerful winds from these thunderstorms because they're associated with really strong updrafts and downdrafts. On top of that, even about a half inch to 3/4 of an inch of hail that was reported with that one line. But it was on West Molokai, very remote area. And also you have to take some unpaved roads to get to the spot. So I don't think anyone really experienced it, but it was fairly isolated and right off the coast. And with the tallest sea cliffs in the world on Molokai, that did play a role in how this system also collapsed once it did make on shore. So it could have essentially have started as a water spout, made landfall, and then officially became a tornado, and then briefly was there making landfall, and then collapsed, and then the radar couldn't see that rotation anymore. So it was a short duration that tornado warning was up. But very interesting weather, especially during these winter months when we get these south winds and instability, and we get the cold air aloft from some of these systems. And the one thing I'm sure you'll notice by tomorrow, how much cooler it's going to feel, especially after this cold front moves through. But all of this is ahead of a cold front with these Kona winds that are making its way over the island chain right now.
All right, and thank you, Jen. I think we are going to end this because the tornado warning has been canceled. Our best advice, stay tuned to Hawaii News Now, our First Alert weather app. We're going to continue doing the video forecasts. We're going to keep watching. Tomorrow, again, we are going to be seeing heavy rainfall across the entire state again. The cold front's still moving in. Seems like Maui County and the Big Island will see the heaviest rainfall as we go into tomorrow, but we're still going to have those strong Kona winds, and then another cold front will arrive by the time we get to this upcoming Thursday. Download the Hawaii News Now First Alert Weather app. Go to hawaiinewsnow.com to get the latest information. That includes HECO outages. I know a lot of people right now may be watching in the dark, and you want to just be aware. We can also download the Hawaii News Now app. We're going to keep a list of the HECO outages there as well. So thank you for joining us. If there are any more warnings that go up, we're going to keep this. We'll be right back here. If there is another tornado warning, we're going to keep watching the radar throughout the rest of this
Stay
evening.
safe, everyone. And
Yes.
always keep an eye on the sky. And a great tool to have is our interactive radar. You could actually watch in the palm of your hands some of these strong cells that are moving through, and it also highlights where those watches and warnings are. And Drew is great at updating our app as well as our entire team with important information and the takeaways and things that you need to know as you prepare for your day. So